Yes, you read that right. $100,000. Sounds crazy? Well, it's really not that crazy at all. Negotiations is the #1 superpower for real estate investors. And guess what? I'm here to show you how to use it. Hey, so I'm Juan Pablo from 100% Financing. First off, some of you guys have been watching these videos since day one, right? The old Juan Pablo, right? The videos in which I talked about not having a cable bill, right? That's a luxury you can't afford. Also talking about reinvesting your earnings, right? From your paycheck and from your current real estate investments. Also, using your spare time wisely to make yourself wealthy. Well, guess what, guys? All those things that I mentioned to you, I'm doing it for myself, and it's starting to bear fruit. So speaking of day one, I happened to walk across one of my old day one YouTubers. You know, just walking on the streets of Atlanta, you oftentimes run into someone and says, "Hey, you're Juan Pablo. Hey, what are you doing?" So you end up linking up with the guy, right? And as we're discussing some things, he started to bring up a lot of things about comments, feedback, real estate investing, funding, and so forth, which was much appreciated. But unfortunately, you might not be that person that may be able to walk across the street and happen to just catch me as a passerby, right? As a bystander. But we have a solution for that. It's called the comments. So just make sure you put all your questions, your feedback, any topics you would like us to discuss in the comments below. And guess what? We will shoot that video. But the only way you're going to find out if you ring that bell in this corner. All right, so make sure you click on that bell so you get these notifications, okay? Now let me get into the meat of the matter, right? All the things that I do, you know, in regard to finding properties, negotiations, make sure it's a great deal. I don't just do that for myself, but I also do that for others. Based upon the numbers, which are the revenue, the expenses, the debt service, the cap rate, and you know, just to name a few. There's a lot more, but just to name a few. My calculations help me derive a fair market value of $920,000, a far cry from $1 million, which was the asking price in this case. Now, in regard to negotiations, you definitely don't want to provide these agents the number of $920,000. That's your MAO. Your MAO stands for your maximum allowable offer. That's the max that will allow to purchase this property. So of course, with the negotiations in mind, you want to start to bid considerably lower. So in this case, I decided to present an offer for this property for $900,000, so not $920,000. And guess what? You guessed it, the seller accepted it. As an investor, you always want to buy a property with either built-in equity and or CBC, cash back at closing, or credits. As a skilled investor, it's vital for you to know negotiations so that you can get the purchase price as well as the terms that you need to make this deal work. Now, in regards to this 21 unit listed at $1 million, the reason why we were able to negotiate that far of a discount, $100,000 off the asking price, is simply because, number one, we were buying the whole portfolio with one buyer. Most sellers, if they have multiple buildings, it's kind of cumbersome to sell, okay, property A to this buyer, property B to this other buyer, property C to this other buyer, like they do with most real estate agents. But being that they know 100% Finance is a closer, the seller was thinking, hey, I'd rather sell these 3 buildings to just one buyer. It's making it easier for the seller. And secondly, we have what I like to call clout with a real estate agent. They understand, they know through experience that 100% Finance are closers. And so they're willing to negotiate on our behalf in regard to the seller so that the seller feels confident as well as comfortable to moving forward with that $900,000 purchase price. Now, with 100% Finance, yes, we have a huge number of real estate agents, listing agents, by the way. I always love to work with listing agents. So if you're a listing agent, holla at us. We love to work with listing agents as well as with wholesalers who send us a ton of deals. Now, I say a ton of deals, I'm not exaggerating, guys. The reason being that we're able to get these very stark discounts on properties, like $100,000 for example, is because we actually purchased a lot of volume through our MAP, which is our multi-unit acquisition program. As a result, we're able to negotiate those discounts on our client's behalf. But hey, if you're willing to go out there on a limb and buy your own property by yourself, by all means, I wish you the best of luck, but just keep this in mind. If you're doing it by yourself, make sure you work with listing agents, people who actually list the property with the seller. Why is that important? It's the incentive, the motivation. Listing agents will represent both the seller and you as the buyer. In other words, they'll be a dual agent. And as a dual agent, they'll get both sides of the commission. So they will rather receive, let's say, 6% commission off a $100,000 property than 3% commission if they split it with another agent off a $150,000 property. So in other words, they don't mind reducing the purchase price. It's all negotiations, baby. I did an event, right, in which I was talking about seller financing, negotiating at certain terms, and actually one of the attendees stood up, very bold, and I appreciate his boldness. He said, hey, you can't negotiate seller financing with those terms. You can't do that, because the terms were juicy. I was negotiating 5% interest rate, amortized over 10 years with a balloon payment in 5 years. So yes, I just gave you the sauce, right? You should be writing that down. If you ain't taking notes right now, something's wrong with you. You should be taking notes while you're watching these videos, right? And so I answered the attendee, right? I said, okay, well, I do get that. I appreciate your boldness for standing up and saying that, actually challenging me. I said, but let me ask you this question. Have you ever taken a course on negotiations? The room was silent. You hear a pin drop. Why? It never occurred to him. It doesn't occur to many of us who are getting started in business and real estate investing, right? That you need to obtain certain soft skills such as communication. Effective communication is important. It's integral to being a successful real estate investor. Alongside of sales, you might have to sell partners on investing with you. Coughing up their coins in their pocket to invest with you. It's also to know negotiations with seller financing. Learn how to negotiate. Also time management. If you have a day job, it may be difficult for you to manage your portfolio and as well as manage your day-to-day activities. You don't want to double book appointments and piss off people in your circle like your boss or a potential real estate agent. It happened to me. I'll speak up through experience. As well as other soft skills. Project management. If you got a property here you're buying over there, you can't neglect these soft skills. But guess what, guys? If you don't happen to have those soft skills I just named, which were a few of them of many, coupled with the hard skill of multifamily real estate investing, no worries. You can still get started in real estate investing as long as you move forward with our map. If you move forward with our map, we got your back. So, how did I come up with that $100,000 discount off the asking price? Well, as a real estate investor, I always want to have a game plan in place in which I can have somewhere between 10, ideally 20% equity in the property by exercising two strategies, which I'm about to explain. So that way I can do what's called a cash out refinance, in which I can pull out, cash out in other words, that equity and use it to either A, pay off the business credit, B, pay off the seller financing, or C, any other debt or partners you may have, or D, use it as capital towards my next deal. So let's get into those two strategies. First strategy is buy the property with built-in equity. Built-in equity is pretty much the difference between the appraised value of the property and what you got it under contract for, right? So when you have built-in equity up front, that's half the battle right there. Now let's say you were savvy enough from a negotiation standpoint to negotiate a huge discount off the purchase price. And then with that huge discount, factor in the appraised value and actually what you got it for, you can, in a short matter of time, pull that equity out and use it toward paying off the seller financing or business credit, what have you. Now the second strategy, let's say you weren't as successful to move forward with the built-in equity piece because you gave the seller the price he wanted, but you got the terms you wanted, seller financing or what have you, which is great. My second strategy is this. Well, force the appreciation. How do you force the appreciation? You can make the property be worth greater than what you purchased it at simply by how you manage it. You force appreciation by doing one of two things. Number one, increase those revenues, baby. which is easy to do. Every tenant who moves into a property expects the property management company to have language in their lease about, hey, every year your rent's going to go up. By simply doing rent increases, that will greatly increase the value as well as the cash flow in your pocket. In addition to rent increases, another way you can force the appreciation is through reducing the expenses, the expenditures. Maybe you can reduce the insurance by going with a different provider. Perhaps you can input or insert water conservation kits if you, the owner, is responsible for the water bill. You can have energy conservation kits, the electric bill, put in energy efficient light bulbs and so forth. Or you might realize, what in the world? This landscaper charges $2,000 a year to cut the grass? Man, I could pay a teenager to do this for just $500 a year. There's many ways for you to reduce the cost without impacting the performance of that asset. Okay, so that's a forced appreciation. Forced appreciation, increase revenue, decrease expenses. Now, if you're extremely prudent as a real estate investor, you want to do both of those strategies, which are buy the property with built-in equity as well as forced appreciation. So let's give an example. If you're able to buy with, let's say at closing, 10% built-in equity, and you're able to improve the performance of that asset, forced appreciation, by another 10%, then that's 20% built-in equity right there. That you can use to pull out and use it to pay off seller financing, business credit partners, and blah, 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 or use it towards your next deal. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been deals in which I was able to negotiate considerable built-in equity as well as credits at closing, and I was able to improve the performance of the asset through the forced appreciation via due diligence. And that's one of the things we do in the MAP. We look to perform due diligence, not just to verify the legitimacy, but seeing how we can force the appreciation once you close. Now, I've done both, but it's atypical, all right? Just wanted to put that out there. I definitely want to be transparent with you guys. What's typical is you might have to get either or, because not every seller is willing to move forward with giving you a considerable built-in equity as well as cash back at closing and so forth. So you got to play somewhat of a give and take. All right. So as long as you can have one, or if not both, it's ideal. So as long as I can get one, whether it's considerable built-in equity or have a game plan in place towards appreciation, then I'm happy. Hey, I gotta keep it straight with you. Not every deal that comes across your laptop is going to be a home run. So don't watch this video and think that will always be the case, all right? So in regard to negotiations, I definitely want you to be a student of the game. So make sure you go to our blog at 100% Finance and read the articles on negotiations and invest in your personal development. Now, in regards to negotiations, what one tool do you think you need to get started with that? So you can start submitting offers on these sweet deals. Well, that's called the LOI, the letter of intent. Now at 100% Finance, we definitely care not only about your development, but we want to make sure you have the right tools in your tool belt. So you can be that superhero with the right tool for you to fight crime or actually fight these other competitors who want your deal, and you get the sweetest deal first. All you have to do is just check out our description below to download this free asset, the letter of intent. And trust me, I use it for all my deals. And keep in mind, if you're not out there shooting your shot, guess what? You're not closing any deals. So if you're not submitting any LOIs, don't expect to close any deals, get any cash flow. And you can't submit an LOI unless you actually get access to it, all right? So stop watching this video, check the link below in the description, and download a free copy of your LOI. By the way, guys, as always, to your success. Continue to earn passport with passion. Peace.